He gave a giant robot a soul. For over 40 years, one voice told an entire generation what it meant to be brave, to lead, and to sacrifice for something bigger than yourself. That voice belonged to a man most people never saw, but everyone knew the second he spoke. And now, that voice is gone. This week, the entertainment world lost Peter Cullen, the man behind Optimus Prime, at the age of 85. And if you grew up anywhere near a television in the last 4 decades, this is a name that shaped your childhood, whether you realized it or not. So why is this hitting so many people so hard right now? Because Peter Cullen wasn't just a voice actor. He was the voice actor. The one constant across 40 years of Transformers, through cartoons, movies, and video games, while everything else around him changed. And his passing comes just days after the entertainment industry was already reeling from the losses of Dolly Parton and Tim Curry. For fans, it feels like one gut punch after another. That's why searches for his name exploded almost overnight, and why tributes are pouring in from every corner of the internet. Let's talk about what actually happened, and why this man meant so much to so many people. According to his agent, Kevin Modley, Peter Cullen passed away at his home in Los Angeles. Reports indicate he died peacefully, surrounded by family. His cause of death has not been publicly disclosed, and out of respect for his loved ones, that's really all that needs to be said on that front. What matters more is what he leaves behind. His family released a statement asking fans to honor his legacy in a very specific way. Instead of asking for flowers or tributes, they asked people to serve their communities and lead with compassion, integrity, and loyalty. They ended the statement with words that sound like they came straight from Optimus Prime himself. Be strong enough to be gentle. If you know anything about the character, you know that line fits perfectly. It's almost poetic that the man behind that voice lived by the same values the character stood for. Now let's rewind, because Peter Cullen's career goes back much further than most casual fans realize. Cullen was a Canadian actor, theater-trained, who broke into voice acting decades before Transformers ever existed. Before Optimus Prime made him a legend, he was already a working voice actor across dozens of shows in the 70s and 80s. He voiced characters in Spider-Man, Voltron, Defender of the Universe, Dungeons & Dragons, G.I. Joe, Ghostbusters, and My Little Pony. This wasn't a man who got lucky with one role. This was a career voice actor who worked constantly, quietly building a reputation in an industry where most people never learn your face, only your voice. Then, in 1984, everything changed. Hasbro was launching a new toy line called Transformers, and they needed a voice for their hero, a truck-turned-robot named Optimus Prime. Cullen auditioned and gave the character a deep, commanding, almost fatherly tone, and it worked instantly. That voice became inseparable from the character. For the next 4 decades, whenever Optimus Prime spoke, in any format, on any screen, it was Peter Cullen. He voiced Optimus Prime in the original 1984 animated series. He came back for Michael Bay's live-action Transformers film, starting in 2007, and stayed with the franchise all the way through Rise of the Beasts. He voiced the character in modern animated series, and across numerous video games. Very few actors in Hollywood history have stayed connected to one character for that long, across that many mediums, without ever being replaced. That kind of consistency doesn't happen by accident. It happens because nobody else could do it the way he did. But here's something a lot of people don't know. Optimus Prime wasn't even his only iconic role. Peter Cullen also voiced Eeyore in the Winnie the Pooh franchise for years, giving the gloomy little donkey his signature slow, melancholic drawl. Think about that for a second. The same man who gave us the booming, heroic voice of a giant alien robot also gave us one of the most gentle, soft-spoken characters in children's entertainment. That range is part of what made him special. He wasn't a one-note performer. He was a craftsman who could disappear completely into wildly different characters. His resume goes even deeper than that. He provided vocal effects for King Kong. He created sounds for the Predator in the original film. He voiced Mogwai creatures in Gremlins. With over 200 credits to his name, Cullen worked steadily for decades, often in roles audiences never connected to his face, because that's simply how voice acting works. You hear these performers everywhere, but you rarely see them. Even in his final years, Cullen kept working. His last major role was as the character Thetis in the Amazon Prime Video animated series Invincible, appearing across multiple episodes between 2023 and 2026. In 2023, he was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award, a recognition that felt overdue for a man who had quietly shaped so much of modern animation and blockbuster filmmaking. Now let's talk about how people are reacting, because the response has been massive. Within hours of the news breaking, tributes started flooding in from fans, colleagues, and the studios he worked with. The team behind Invincible and Adult Swim posted a public tribute honoring him, with many involved in the show sharing that recording sessions with Cullen were emotional experiences they won't forget. Fans across social media have been sharing clips of his most iconic Optimus Prime moments, along with personal stories about what the character meant to them growing up. A lot of the reaction isn't really about Transformers as a franchise. It's about childhood. For millions of people, Optimus Prime wasn't just a cartoon robot. He was one of the first fictional characters who taught them what leadership was supposed to sound like. Calm under pressure. Protective without being controlling. Willing to sacrifice everything for the people he was responsible for. That's a heavy thing for a kid's cartoon to carry, but Cullen's performance made it believable every single time. There's also a noticeable pattern in how fans are talking about this loss compared to previous ones. Because his passing comes so soon after Dolly Parton's and Tim Curry's deaths, a lot of comments online reflect a kind of collective exhaustion, almost like people are processing several losses at once instead of just one. It's not uncommon to see comments saying this year has already felt like one of the hardest for entertainment fans in recent memory. Peter Cullen represents something that's becoming increasingly rare in entertainment: consistency across generations. Kids who watched the original 1984 cartoon are now parents, and some of them introduced their own children to Transformers through the live-action films, where that exact same voice was still leading the Autobots. That's a rare kind of continuity. Very few franchises manage to keep the same actor in the same role for 40 years, and even fewer actors manage to keep that role feeling fresh and meaningful the entire time. There's also something worth noting about the kind of career Cullen had. He wasn't chasing fame in the traditional sense. Voice actors rarely get red carpet treatment or magazine covers, even when their work reaches hundreds of millions of people. Cullen built his legacy through sheer craft and reliability, showing up decade after decade and delivering performances that shaped how audiences understood heroism, gentleness, and everything in between. In an industry obsessed with visibility, his story is a reminder that some of the most influential people in entertainment are the ones you never actually see. And there's a deeper question worth sitting with here. What happens to characters like Optimus Prime when the voice that defined them is gone? Future Transformers projects will have to make a choice: recast the role, or find some other way to honor what Cullen built. Whatever happens, it's clear that whoever eventually speaks as Optimus Prime again will be stepping into shoes that took 40 years to fill. So here's the question worth thinking about. What's your first memory of hearing Optimus Prime speak? Was it the original cartoon, the movies, or maybe even a video game? Drop your memory in the comments, because right now, That's exactly how fans everywhere are choosing to say goodbye. Not with sadness alone, but by remembering the moments that voice gave them. Thank you for watching, and take care of each other.